And mainly to awesome because of you. Here's what we'll do today. We'll do housekeeping. We'll do practice tip of the day. We'll do the new Ask Me Anything 5-minute thing. We'll do notes on your draft arguments. I know, it's a new thing.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like a little bit too presumptuous, but like they seem to like the idea, so I'm fine with it if they are. It kind of presumes that they like have like a question that
Or that you have valid answers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Which I would not assume.
Right.
And I certainly wouldn't assume they would think so. So, in any event, we'll do notes on your argument. We'll talk about what a standard of review is, and we will go over the briefs that we read for today. We may not get to all of them, but we will definitely start with the Ruth Bader Ginsburg brief. I want everyone to note that Elizabeth's wearing her Ruth Bader Ginsburg shirt, and there's Kool-Aid in order to celebrate the cult of RBG that has arisen.
I get it.
It's not a criticism of the cult. It's not an endorsement of the cult. It's not as saying she's good or bad. It's just an acknowledgement that whatever we might think about any particular cult, the best thing about any cult is the Kool-Aid. And so I think that we can drink to RBG. And I also, wanted, in case there was any doubt about I assure you, there has never been a justice who has had this kind of following before. There are billboards out there. There's
that's good.
religious iconography. There's books. This is a very popular book. She wears her own RBG cult sweatshirt, Super Diva. There's more iconography. People have their refrigerators. There's a new movie coming out.
It's out.
Facebook
It's already
it's
left
out.
theaters.
Oh.
It was great.
It was great. It was amazing. I did make a copy of every T-shirt. There's pillows. There were literally 20 Amazon pages worth of stuff, and I stopped at 10. But you can see there's the documentary, which is also extremely well done. The RBG documentary. It's sold out at the Speed Museum for like 18 months, not literally, but it was a lot. If you go into a children's bookstore, you'll see about 25 Ruth Bader Ginsburg coloring books.
The documentary is on Hulu if you didn't get to see it at speed, though.
It is really well done. Most of it is really well done. I mean, at a certain point, capitalists are just like cashing in on this cult. But her workout trainer has written a book that then she went on Colbert and promoted. This is a totally separate book, Notorious RBG. There's 1 million T-shirts. Some of them I think are pretty clever. There's socks. There's mugs. Let's see what else there is. More mugs. I like that one. If you're gonna get one, I'll probably get that one. The middle finger. This is a lapel pin you can
I wish
get.
I thought to wear. I have an RBG lapel pin.
I actually wore the New Orleans one instead.
I know.
Here's more cult T-shirts. This is another children's book. Here's the action figure. RBG action. I'm just telling you, like, there's never been. It's not like they had a John Marshall action figure. You can get an RBG Descent bag. You can believe in RBG the same way that you would believe in a cult leader. You can do another children's book. You can do yet another children's book, coloring book. I would actually probably get a little thing for Isabella because some of these are pretty cute, the baby stuff. You can get RBG tea.
RBG.
This is not the workout book. This is a workout calendar you can get. This is a poster of her kind of as. There's the Notorious RBG in song, if you want to listen to it in song. I was going to play Notorious B.I.G. before class, but I don't know what songs.
You could play the RBG rap from SNL though. There's a video of her rap.
I'll do that before
That's
the
not
next
her, obviously. It's Kate McKinnon.
Yeah, this class loses
Walking
out.
God Among Us.
The Kate McKinnon's pretty great. I'll give her that. So here's another book about RBG for children. I think that's our third or fourth if you're counting. Here's an actual adult book. Most of these books are the past couple years, which also shows you there's a certain like bandwagon effect going on. You can't spell truth without Ruth
Ain't
book.
that the truth?
Here's a Christmas ornament, or a Merry Resistmas ornament. A pocket RBG wisdom. That's kind of like Mal's little red book that you've got going on there. Truth, but with Ruth emphasized like that. More T-shirts. I'm telling you, I cut most of the T-shirts. I only put the ones I thought were like mildly clever. The Ruth shall set you free, like that. There's lots of notebooks you can get. This is Dissent shirt. Here's lots more. You just go on Amazon. Just knock yourself out.
Why should you include all the RBG tattoos?
I hope everyone
I look up
comes.
the RBG. There's another children's book. That's what I would get Isabella, actually. The little frill. Descent Mints, I like that. RBG Descent Mints. Another RBG book, The Unstoppable, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Here's a Descent collar necklace. Here's another notebook. What would RBG do? Once again, with the kind of like religious illusion there. Elements of Truth, R, B, and G. Thought that was pretty clever. Here's another journal. More t-shirts. More books. A mouse pad.
Look at you screaming.
You're giving me anxiety.
A dog bandana.
Let me just.
Yet another children's book.
Let me make the point.
There's a lovely Christmas sweater. I thought that was pretty good too. Merry Resistmas. Here's yet another journal, and then this was the last one I put on here. It's a prayer candle, which once again you can see like a good proportion of these are
That's not
religious.
specific to her though. I have a William Shakespeare prayer candle. I also have that one.
I mean, I
But
think
also
like
have a
Shakespeare, RBG, it's like
Yeah.
similar in terms of legacies.
Mhm.
So anyway, so happy RBG Cult Day to all of you, and enjoy the Kool-Aid, and I look forward to reading RBG today. So, okay, other housekeeping things. I have on a less happy note a follow-up, actually a kind of follow-up to the death penalty case. Remember I told you about the death penalty case where the guy wanted the imam. So the prison has claimed to have solved the Establishment Clause problem. Any guess how they've solved the problem? Yeah.
Nobody?
Now the Christians can't have a Christian chaplain.
Amazing.
Nobody gets a chaplain in the death chamber. So it's equal. So I guess from some perspective,
Talk to the Lord.
problem solved. What'd you say?
Because I just can't talk to the Lord.
You can't talk to the Lord before your death. And then there's also an article if you all want to Google it after class. It's worth a read. I started reading it. It's just horrifying. So there's an article out today about how people in Louisiana are spending more time in prison than their sentences just because the bureaucracy in Louisiana is so inept. Like the jail just like has not been notified, let them out, their time is served. Amazing.
Wow.
And then I have a couple of like things I saw that I thought would be good kind of practice tips. They're things we've kind of talked about before, but I saw them on Twitter and thought of you all. Look at this. Look at this legal writing. Just look at this sentence that's highlighted. That's all you need to read. I mean, how crazy? What was this person thinking? All right, these fees are hereinafter referred to as fees. Glad we cleared that up. So once again, as usual, you don't have to like say, Bob Smith sued Bill Jones, parentheses Smith, parentheses Jones. Like we know Bob Smith's last name is Smith, and we know that fees are fees. And then let's see if I can find the other one of these that I liked. This is I think a very thoughtful law professor, which not an oxymoron for those smart alecks out there. There are a few of them out there, even if you're not taught lawyering skills by one. And it said, well, what book changed your life? And so he said that it was Miss Manner's Guide to Excruciatingly Correct Behavior, which he read in college or around then. And he said it's because, not that he learned like stupid things like how to use an oyster fork, but because there are deep principles for human relationships, such as sometimes giving less of an explanation is kinder than getting more. You can be polite without being a pushover, and that the rules of etiquette are separate from any kind of moral approval of the people to whom we are polite. This is what makes society possible in a world of political and moral disagreement. So, but that was nice, and I'm not going to read it tomorrow, but it is now kind of in the back of my head as something to maybe take a look at. Somewhat skeptical of manners, but there's some benefit to it. Okay. If you haven't signed up for a meeting this week, I encourage you to. No, you're required to. So yeah, you're encouraged in the kind of North Korean sense. Let's see. I'll also have a lot of time for conferences closer to the due date for your brief. The due date, as I've said before, and as I think is on the syllabus, but it's Wednesday, March 6th. Wednesday, March 6th. Bring your hard copy to class. Your bound brief. For the optional meetings, I'll put up a sign-up sheet for optional meetings starting Wednesday, a week from today. I do have some time next Monday, late afternoon, that if you want, you can send me an email about. Otherwise, the optional meetings will go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and there'll be sign-up sheets for that. Okay, there are a couple of like logistics on the meetings thing. Every year I cut off the meetings before the 11th hour for multiple reasons, but one is that I'm not going to encourage you to wait until the 11th hour to do stuff. It's not a good habit. And by the way, if you ever have a choice between a boss who does wait until the 11th hour and one who doesn't, strongly encourage you to pick the boss who doesn't. It can make a really big difference. A friend was telling me about, I was saying like which people to avoid, which people, and she said like this guy sent her an email at 4 p.m. It was like, I need this done the next morning, and he could have sent it a week before, but instead he ruined your evening. Okay, so what does all that mean? It means no meetings after Monday, March 4th. So your briefs are due Wednesday, March 6th, and on Monday, March 4th, I'll stay as long as you're willing to stay. Some years it's not super late. Some years it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Whatever you want to stay, I will stay and help as much as I can. And I'll be in the office throughout the day. There'll be a sign-up sheet for that day, but there aren't going to be time slots for that day because I don't want to be rushed for those meetings. So it'll just be like, I think we did this at the end of last semester, but just a sign-up sheet, and if you want to put your number and then go somewhere else in the building, you can do that, and I can text you when it's your turn, or you can just hang around, either way. Let's see. You also cannot, on that last day, you cannot sign up for a second meeting until you've had your first meeting. So it's not like you can sign up for 5 slots down and then write your name like in the middle of the paper so that you then have a second sign-up sheet. So you have to like wait until you've done your turn. So you can't like jump the line. Jump the queue, as the British say. I'm going to try a new system this year. Although I will kind of like take a rough straw poll on whether you think this makes any sense. But I think it's to your benefit, and I think it's to my benefit. So every year there are briefs, drafts that people are showing me toward the end. And I'm like, this is great. Like, I know that you've got an A quality brief. But I don't tell the student that. And so then they like worry for a month or whatever. So this year, I'm going to try a new system where you can ask me, is this an A? And is this definitely an A? Maybe it is, but it's not definite. But is this definitely an A? And I will tell you. And if it's not, that's fine. You know, I'll still keep helping you, and we'll try to make it better, and you can keep coming back for as many meetings as you want. But you can't ask me again. So, because I don't want you like asking me every 5 minutes, like, is it there yet? Is it there yet? Is it there yet? Like a kid in the back of the seat. But I want to, without creating a system where I'm grading everything a million times, which I don't have time to do, and which actually isn't like totally to your benefit, because I wouldn't be grading, I can't grade as thoughtful as I would when I have more time. Without creating that downside, I would like to avoid the bad situation the past 4 years where people have A's but they just don't know it and they're still freaked out about it. So, do you think this makes any sense? It's just like something worth trying? Okay. Okay, so that's what I'll do. Okay, so binding your brief, you should bind the brief just like this supplement is bound. If you're the defendant, which means you're the appellant, you should have a light blue cover. And if you're the government, you should have a red cover. You can get it bound here at school on a certain day at a certain time at a nice fundraiser that benefits our partnership with Central High School. So I encourage you to do that if your brief is ready when that event is held. I don't know when that event is held. It's possible you all have 2 extra days to write your brief compared to the other classes. Is that right? Yeah. Theirs might be due that Monday, and yours is due Wednesday. Not because I particularly wanted to give you more time, or their professors wanted to give them less time, but we meet on Wednesday. It's the first day of the week we meet, so I thought, let's just have it due in class. But as a result, it may be that like fundraising thing is held earlier than is ideal for you all. In which case, just go to FedEx office and you can get it done there. And they have done legal briefs a million times, so they'll know what color blue and what color red. It's like a light blue kind of, and it's a red. Could say Carolina blue, but not
That
gonna
might
say
go
that.
over some people's heads.
Oh gosh.
So I don't know what that means.
Do you know there's a most important basketball game of the year tonight? Regular season game?
Cool.
Mm.
You know, tickets are selling, the cheapest ticket for the Duke UNC game tonight is selling for the same price as the cheapest Super Bowl ticket.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the arena only holds
Yes.
10,000.
It is, and like the worst seat at Duke is way closer than the worst seat at Super Bowl, so it's not exactly the same. Okay, in any event, bind your briefs. I used to require 4 briefs, because that was suggested to me. One for me to grade, one for me to keep and use as an example for future classes, one for you to keep, and one for you to give to the oral argument opponent. But here's what I learned. The oral argument opponents don't read the briefs. And you can just email them if you want to email them. And I don't need to keep 44 extra briefs at the end of the year as like extra copies. So I only need 1 to grade. And if you want to make one for yourself, make one for yourself, but it's no sweat off my back whether you do or not. So you are only required to create 1 bound brief and give it to me.
As your friendly moot court board member, you should read your opponent arguments brief.
Yeah, but you can email it.
Yes, but you should read it.
Yeah, that's the green solution.
I read mine in full.
I'm just on board with the green.
I appreciate it. I'm good. I just didn't want to leave the message that you should not read.
Yeah, that's true.
Your oral argument opponent's brief. You should.
That's true too. Okay, double-sided printing except for the cover. That's all logistics there. For class on this coming up Friday and also for next Wednesday, bring your blue books. I'm not sure that we'll get to them, but we might, and I want you to have them available if you do, and also that hard copy of that PDF that has the lists of abbreviations that I gave you 1,000 years ago, but that you should be using when you're writing your brief. So I'm sure no one has lost that. Okay, last housekeeping thing. Oh, the homework's not up there, but I'll write it. I didn't have that yet to you. It is supplement 2, 21, and 22. So it's an excerpt by then Judge Kavanaugh and an excerpt by Justice Thurgood Marshall. Equal time as usual. I'm not requiring you to do a draft of the summary of the argument. I'm not requiring you to do a draft of your introduction, but they are required parts of your brief when you turn it in. And if you want to do a draft, I'm happy to read that draft. As I am happy to read any parts of your brief. All right, that's it. Practice tip of the day. We're a little behind, so I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. To keep an extra change of clothes in your office or your car. I have a little story about when I did not do that and it backfired on me. But you get the point. Keep an extra change of clothes in your office or your car, if you want. All right, let's do 3 minutes to ask me anything instead of 5. Any questions? Yeah.
This is about class, but it works.
Yes, ma'am.
Will we get the 2 bump thing if we did the Court of Appeals? Through that whole argument? Do you remember that?
Yes. So I have a list of everyone who was there, and it's not a 2 bump; it's a 1 bump.
I thought you said if we stayed there the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did.
3 hours was.
It's writing somewhere.
But
I said you could
I'll
have
go back
2
and check
grade
the
bumps
email.
up.
If we stay there the whole time, but you said we just had to show up to get 1. But
Okay.
we stayed the whole time.
Okay. So
Right.
what that will probably mean
Oh,
is
the-
that everybody who showed up at all will get 2, because I don't think I kept track of who.
That was cool.
But yeah, I got a list of who was there. So thanks for. I wasn't going to forget about the bump, but I did forget that I said 2. So wow.
You don't remember when that was?
You're being generous.
Do I remember when I'm being generous? I was being
When?
generous.
What date the event
That was
was?
old me. No, I don't remember.
It was last semester.
That's all right.
I'll figure it
Kelsey,
out.
I trust Kelsey. Yeah.
What's your opinion on the Red Book? By Brian Garner's Red Book.
Oh, because U of L, University of Louisville has a red book. And I was like, Why would anyone read the red book? It's like our constitution. I don't have strong opinions. I haven't like read it cover to cover. I've heard of it, but
I don't know.
if I were gonna buy a Brian Garner book, that probably wouldn't be the first one I bought. I'd probably buy this one. And then there's another one I really like, which is small, called I forget what it is.
Well, for the most part, I mean, I can trust what he has to say in there, right?
Yeah,
'Cause, I
yeah.
mean, it's like it has punctuation guides.
Yeah, I know.
And capitalism.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're looking for another Brian Garner book, I like, that's the one you have. I like this one, it's real short. It's called The Elements of Legal Style. Yeah, it's not cheap. But you can buy it used for $4.72. I was gonna buy like 20 like RBG things for the celebration today, but I'm not that rich, so give one to everybody. Sorry. Okay, yeah, Shari and Elizabeth. Then we'll move
When's the
on.
last day of class?
It is this is all messed up, but I think oral arguments are this Saturday, March 23rd.
Yes.
And so then our last day of class is Wednesday, March 27th. Elizabeth?
Throw up.
Yeah, I had a question about billable hours. So
About what?
billable hours.
Yeah.
So all the firms have different amounts, and I kind of looked it up online just to see, like, this many billable hours would be like what kind of work week. And so what I saw online is to aim for like 1,800, which none of the firms in billable really do. So like I don't like, I've heard different things, but I've heard maybe 70% of your time can actually be applied to billable hours. I've heard really efficient 80% can be. And I'm just wondering how.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna have a number for you, but it's a good thing to think about, and it's definitely true that if you're required to bill, let's say, 30 hours a week, on average, that does not mean you only work 30 hours a week. A lot of the time, not a majority of the time, hopefully, but a fair amount of time that you're working. Like, let's say you're like cleaning your office, or you're organizing files or something, like that's not billable. And there's all kinds of things that might not be billable. So I don't know that 70, 80, I mean, when I was practicing, I always had more work than I had time to do. And so I did bill pretty close to 90+% of the time I was in the office. But not everybody has more work, and that comes with costs, obviously. Like, but also it's more stressful to have more work than you have time to do. And then also, I was doing a lot of appeals, which are long writing projects, and so they lend themselves to like long blocks of time. If you're doing like a bunch of discrete projects, sometimes the downtime takes more. So I don't have a number for you, but 70 to 80% of your office time as billable does not sound crazy to me. So our billable, we were expected to bill 2,000 a year, which was a lot of hours.
If you're working for a smaller firm versus a larger firm, like, is it easier to bill more if you're working for a larger firm that might have like companies and things for clients than it is when you're handling like cases for individuals?
Probably. I would think so. And there's also like more work, but it's like more work to draw from at a bigger firm. And then if you're doing a smaller firm on the plaintiff side, then you don't, the billable hour thing is not as big a deal. And some firms it's not a deal at all. I mean, a friend who's a junior attorney, bless you, had like a solo, he's the second attorney at what was a solo practice, and they don't bill anything because all their work is on commission. So if they win the case, they get a third, and if they don't win the case, they don't get paid. Okay, let's do notes on draft arguments. So I thought about like how to organize my suggestions here, and they're not necessarily organized from most important to least important. They're kind of like organized, say, almost specific maybe. But in any event, I think it would make everyone, I think it would help everyone organize better if you get on the same system for headings and subheadings. So I'm going to strongly encourage you to use these heading numbers, okay? So you've got your argument section, you call it argument. And then you've got a paragraph or two right after that, and we're going to talk about what should go there later. And then I want you to call your first section big Roman numeral I, capital I. And then down here, you're going to have Roman numeral 2. And this Roman numeral I is going to talk about the report. I'm not saying call your heading report. I'm just telling you that's what everything in Roman numeral 1 is going to be about, the report, being admitted into evidence. And then everything about Roman numeral 2 is going to be about the surrogate witness. Now the report is going to be subject to two different tests. One is the primary purpose test. So you will do a rule explanation to explain the primary purpose test. You'll do a rule application to apply that primary purpose test to our autopsy report. The second test is B. So I want you to use A and B. And B is the formality test. Once again, explain the formality test with rule explanation and then apply it with rule application. Now for the surrogate witness, I want you to explain when a surrogate witness can testify, and then I want you to apply that rule to Dr. Handler. So the main point of the last 90 seconds is I want you to have an I, an A, a B, an I, and I want it to be like that. Not only do I think this is good strategy in terms of the headings, but I also think it helps make sure that you don't, that you see how things fit together. You see how things fit together. Doesn't just help the reader see how things fit together. I think it will help some of you see how things fit together. Okay. Your headings should be single-spaced if it's more than one line. Everything else double-spaced. Okay, as with everything we've done all year, and as I just put up here, rule explanation before rule application. Do the whole rule explanation before you move to rule application. So when you're talking about the primary purpose test and then getting ready to apply it to our autopsy, explain everything you need to explain about the primary purpose test before you ever mention our autopsy. Lots of people have done explanation, then application, then explanation, then application, then explanation, then application, all within the primary purpose statement. Don't do that. Lots of people ignored the lower court cases. It's true they're not binding, but they are supportive. If you're the defendant, there are lower court cases that are supportive and that will help the reader be persuaded that you're right. Same thing if you're the government. It is impossible to write an excellent brief in this case without using lower court cases. Okay, maybe the biggest and to some degree easiest fix that has it's been in almost every draft, and I like take responsibility for it. It's my mistake. Not because I told you to do this, but because I should have told you not to do this. And I should have anticipated that you would. When we went through the substance of the brief, I told you what cases support different parts. And that is true. Those cases do support and they should be used. But I didn't mean that I wanted you to organize your brief case by case. Like, talk about this case, then talk about this case, then talk about this case, then talk